Have you ever thought of sleep as, just wasted time? A biological chore that just gets in the way of you being productive? Well, what if I told you that for about a third of your life, you're not shutting down at all? You're actually powering up. Let's dive into why sleep isn't some weakness, but maybe the most powerful and most underutilized superpower you have.
Wow, that's a pretty blunt statement, right? But it comes from Dr. Kirk Parsley, a former Navy SEAL who later became the doctor for the SEAL teams. So this is a guy who has seen firsthand what extreme sleep loss does to some of the sharpest, most elite minds on the planet. And as we're gonna see, this isn't an exaggeration, it's a straight-up biological fact.
It's such a strange contradiction, isn't it? We glorify this hustle culture, burning the midnight oil, acting like sleep is some luxury we just can't afford. But all the science tells a completely different story. So, what's with the disconnect? That is the central question we're going to tackle by uncovering the incredible work your brain and body are doing while you think you're just out cold.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with what I'm calling the great deception of our modern work culture. Then we'll start unveiling sleep's incredible superpowers, one by one. It's the brain's cleanup crew, the mind's architect, your unseen creative partner, and the ultimate performance enhancer. And then at the end, we'll talk about how you can start waking up your superpower like tonight.
All right, first up, the great deception. We're going to tackle this modern myth that somehow equates losing sleep with gaining success. It's this idea that to get ahead, you have to sacrifice rest. But as we're about to see, this is probably one of the most counterproductive beliefs you can possibly hold.
Think about this for a second. In the entire animal kingdom, every other species makes sleep a top priority for survival. But us, supposedly the most intelligent species on the planet, we're the only ones who intentionally shortchange ourselves on sleep. It's a completely unnatural state of affairs. And this, right here, illustrates the real cost. Research has shown that if you pull just one all-nighter, staying awake for 24 hours, your cognitive performance is basically the same as someone with a blood alcohol level of 0.10%. That's over the legal limit to drive. So making a big decision after a sleepless night, that's literally like making that decision while you're legally drunk. You wouldn't do that, so why do we treat sleep deprivation any differently?
Okay, so we've busted the myth. Now let's get to the good stuff and unveil the truth, starting with our first superpower. This is a pretty revolutionary discovery that completely changes how we think about what the brain is doing at night. It's not just resting, it's running a deep cleaning cycle that is absolutely critical for your health.
It's called the Glymphatic System. The easiest way to think about it is like a power washer for your brain. It's this incredible plumbing system that kicks into high gear almost exclusively when you're in deep sleep, and it flushes all the metabolic junk that built up during the day right out of your head. And there is no diet, no supplement, no juice cleanse in the world that can do this job. Only sleep.
So how does this amazing cleaning process actually work? Well, first, and this is going to blow your mind, your brain cells physically shrink. Yeah, they shrink. This opens up the channels between the cells, creating more space. Then your spinal fluid surges through these now wider channels, washing away all the harmful waste proteins, including stuff like beta amyloid, which, has been linked to Alzheimer's disease. And get this, your brain cells can shrink by up to 60%. Seriously, let that sink in for a moment. This isn't some tiny little adjustment. It's a massive, radical physical transformation that happens inside your skull every single night to make this cleaning possible. If you don't get enough deep sleep, this process just doesn't work properly and those toxins stick around. So, not only is your brain getting a deep clean, it's also getting a complete renovation. Which brings us to superpower number 2, the mind's architect. Beyond just cleaning house, sleep is actively restructuring your mind, filing away important memories, processing your emotions, and literally rebuilding your mental faculties for the next day.
Now, this whole architectural project is a tag team effort between two main types of sleep, NREM, which stands for non-REM, and REM sleep. Think of it this way. NREM sleep, especially the deep sleep part, is all about physical repair and locking in facts and figures. Then, REM sleep comes in to handle the more complex stuff, like processing emotions and refining your motor skills, like practicing a tennis serve or playing a song on the guitar in your mind.
And as sleep expert Dr. Michael Granner says, both of these are totally essential. You can't just pick one. Your body is smart about it. You tend to get more of that physically restorative NREM sleep earlier in the night. Then, as you get closer to the morning, your REM periods get longer and longer. Your brain needs the whole night to get the full benefit of both.
This emotional work during REM sleep is just fascinating. You can almost think of it as free, built-in therapy every single night. During REM, your brain actually turns down the volume on key stress chemicals. This allows it to replay and reprocess tough or emotional experiences in a much calmer environment. So what happens? It brilliantly separates the intense emotion from the memory.
You get to keep the lesson from the experience, but you lose that painful emotional baggage. Okay, so sleep cleans house and it rebuilds the architecture of your mind. But it gets even cooler. There's another, almost mysterious power it has. Let's look at superpower number 3. Sleep as your unseen creative partner, the one that solves the problems your waking mind just gets stuck on.
You know that old saying, sleep on it? Well, it turns out it's totally real. It's not magic, it's neuroscience. During REM sleep, the really rigid, logical parts of your brain kind of quiet down. This allows your mind to just drift and make all these weird, unexpected connections between ideas, connections that your logical, awake brain would have just dismissed. And that is where those aha moments come from.
And they've actually put a number on this. Studies on creative problem solving have found that people who got a full night of sleep showed almost a 40% improvement compared to those who stayed awake. A 40% creative boost delivered for free every single night you get proper rest. That's incredible.
Okay, we've covered the mental game. But what about the physical? Well, that brings us to superpower number 4. Sleep as the most powerful, totally legal, and effective performance-enhancing tool you can find. It is the secret weapon of the world's absolute best.
And if you don't believe me, just look at the absolute best in the world. Roger Federer, LeBron James, Usain Bolt. These titans of sport don't treat sleep as an afterthought. For them, it is a non-negotiable part of their training. They understand that recovery isn't just passive downtime. It's where all the gains from their hard work actually get locked in. And this is where it gets really serious, especially if you're active. The link between not sleeping enough and getting hurt, it's undeniable. Studies have shown that athletes who consistently get less than 8 hours of sleep a night have a massively higher risk of getting injured. And it makes sense, right? Lack of sleep messes with everything: your coordination, your reaction time, your decision-making, and your body's ability to repair itself. So, let's recap. We've got a cleanup crew, an architect, a creative partner, and a performance enhancer, all wrapped up in this thing we call sleep. It is clearly not a state of inactivity. It is a powerhouse of restoration and optimization. So the real question now is, how do we get more of it? Let's talk about how you can activate this superpower for yourself. So how do you actually turn on this superpower? Here are 4 simple, evidence-backed things you can literally start doing tonight. First, consistency is everything. Try to go to bed and wake up at roughly the same time, even on weekends. Second, make your bedroom a sleep sanctuary. The ideal temperature is actually pretty cool, around 65 degrees Fahrenheit or 18 Celsius. Third, and this is fascinating, some research suggests that sleeping on your side might actually be the best position for that glymphatic brain cleaning system to work. And finally, have a wind-down routine. Ditch the screens for an hour before bed and do something relaxing. Signal to your brain that it's time to power down.
So here's the bottom line. Sleep isn't a luxury. It's not something you have to earn after a long day. It is a fundamental biological necessity, a birthright that is hardwired into your DNA to help you function at your absolute best. Trying to negotiate with your need for sleep is like trying to negotiate with your need to breathe. The power is there for the taking, every single night. The only question left is, are you going to use it?